separating technique training and artistic performance, very important things that I think will help you on this path of learning to sing. When I first decided that, hey, I'm gonna learn how to sing, I had no interest in vocal technique. I just had a large catalog of instrumental tracks and I just wanted to be able to sing over them the way I wanted those tracks to sound, the way I envisioned them. And I only got into vocal technique because when I tried to execute what was in my head, what was in my heart, I just couldn't do it. I didn't have enough vocal range. Everything felt stuck in my throat, strained. I didn't have any control. I couldn't soften my voice. I couldn't get it loud. I couldn't sing in the middle. That took me down that rabbit hole of, I've got to learn how to figure this out. I've got to find what's causing these issues and solve them. And when you go down this rabbit hole, this tunnel, it can be very easy to lose sight of why you even did it. You know what I mean? So you can fall into this trap, and I see this happen a lot, of the proper way to sing and getting lost in, this is the proper way to sing. What's the right way to sing? And then forgetting why you even went on this journey to begin with. And so I want to say a few things right now that may be helpful for you if you're on this path of learning to build your voice and express yourself and master something deeper within yourself with your voice. And that is, it can be super helpful to separate technique training that is building your voice, building the mechanical muscle system of your voice, and expressing artistically and performing your voice, okay? Separate them a little bit, because if you do not separate these things, it can get very confusing. Artistically, you can do whatever you want with your voice. You can do sounds that are technically incorrect, but you just like how they sound, or that's how you want to do it on that song, or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that. Totally fine. So then it's like, well, what's the point of learning technique if you can just do whatever you want? Well, because what tends to happen is when you're trying to express yourself through your songs or through the cover songs that you like to sing, you will start to encounter limitations. And when you encounter those limitations, you will then have to compensate around those limitations. What does that mean? It means, I want to do this. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, I got to do this thing that I didn't really want to do, but I can get through the song that way. Now we're not talking so much about art. We're talking about survival. I've got to survive through the song. Now that's lowering your self-expression now. It's boxing you in a bit more. Then it's like, I can't hit these high notes. I got to lower the key now. But when I lower the key, I can't really express that emotion, because that emotion lives in that higher key. Okay, now we got to box ourselves in a bit more. That's where technique starts to come in, because, and this is a misconception, there's a lot of people that will say things like, you got to be careful when you learn technique, because you'll remove that natural rawness of the human spirit in your voice. It shouldn't do that. I would say technique should allow you to bring that out more. It should allow you to bring out your expression more, because now you're removing all of the things that block you from expressing yourself. And the way that I like to view technique is it needs to evolve into something that takes the thinking out of singing, where you can sing like a natural singer. And what is a natural singer? A natural singer is someone who can reflexively sing without having to think consciously or control or manipulate their voice manually, like a calculated effort. They can just hear the song, feel it, sing and express how they feel, and their voice can go where they want it to go. Meaning it could go to high notes, it can go loud, it can go soft, it can go in the middle, it can play with the tone a bit. You can open up the jaw really wide, or maybe you close it, or you just got versatility. And this is where all of these things like open the jaw really far or sing with it really close. It's why I believe in not just one way of like I had somebody on a call yesterday and he said, oh, my teacher said I got to open my jaw really far. But then I saw some other teachers say you don't have to do that, and I was confused. And my answer was, I think it'd be really smart to learn how to do both. To learn how to be as well as going I'm singing, I'm doing the same thing inside my throat, but I'm just not opening the mouth. I'm either opening it really wide or closed. And what I like to do is if we can build the extremes, meaning really open, really closed, then when you go to actually sing, you'll be somewhere kind of in the middle, right? You've got this spectrum that you can kind of choose between. And your voice will know how to navigate the spectrum. And that is my philosophy on the voice in all kinds of ways. It's very beneficial to learn how to be very loose as well as very squeeze. Like, really squeeze, right? And then, very loose. And then something in the middle, not as squeezed as the first one, not as loose as the first one, somewhere in the middle, right? If we can get the spectrum loose to super squeeze in the middle, soft to super loud in the middle, super open, super closed, you know what I mean? If we can develop the extremes, while you're training it may not seem artistic, but it expands the capabilities for artistry when you actually go to perform, when you separate the two. Does it make sense? You train it mechanically, the full range of motion, the extremes, so that when you go artistically, you can just switch your brain off and then the voice just understands how to calibrate based on the moment, how it feels. And so that's kind of how I see the voice in terms of what's the right way to sing, what's the wrong way to sing. If we're talking about artistry, then I wouldn't say there's a wrong way to sing. There's just, is what you're doing a choice or is it a limitation? You might sing, oh, he's not singing with support. Well, maybe it's a choice, Maybe he's just, look at you. Like I'm singing collapse there, but maybe that's how I want to do it in the context of that song, if that makes sense. Now, if that's the only way I can sing, and I'm limited to that, and I actually want to do other stuff, but I'm stuck in that, that's when it's an issue. So artistry comes down to, is what you're doing out of a choice, or is it a limitation, meaning you're stuck within that and then you're just playing, you're kind of coping or surviving in that? Does it make sense? The way I like to define technique in terms of what's right or wrong, obviously you've got the health aspect of it, like it should be healthy, right? It shouldn't be destroying your voice. That's the first thing. It's like the bare minimum. Then the second thing that I look for technique is I want to be building something that gives me access to the low range, the high range, my loudest volume, and my softest volumes. So I'm looking for those qualities with the same technique. Does it make sense? Because there's lots of different ways to make sounds, and some of those ways don't give you access to the high range, or they don't give you access to soft volumes, or they don't give you access to loud volumes. And that's not to say you cannot use those sounds artistically, but as your home base of technique, I would say what I'm always looking for when I train students is I'm getting them to impart a technique that works from bottom to top, soft to loud, without having to change anything. It's like one core thing, if that makes sense. And that truly allows you to get to the point where you don't have to think when you're singing. It can be reflective. And then when you go to artistically use your voice, you've got that, but you can also kind of switch into all these other sounds that you might want to use artistically, but don't, maybe are not as stable or consistent, but you can kind of just use them sprinkle them in here and there based on your taste. Developing your artistic taste is something that is like a whole other discussion, because that goes into actually imitating. And this is something that is also a controversial topic, right? Because it's like, oh, you should never imitate singers, or it's like, no, you should imitate singers. And like, what's the balance there? Again, if you separate it between technique and artistry, that's where it starts to make a bit more sense. For example, am I mimicking a singer because I'm trying to copy mechanically something that is working in their voice? Or am I mimicking them because I just like their sound and I'm looking to do that? Because if we don't understand the difference, it can get confusing. You might be hearing something that sounds cool, but it might actually be taking you in a not so good direction mechanically for your particular issue. So what I like to do when people are kind of, oh, I'm mimicking a singer, what do I do? Is if we're going for mechanical technique, I will usually just tell them things like, listen for the volume that they're singing at, and then just listen to how open or closed the vowels are. Just those two things, nothing else. And then they don't get confused by like, is that his natural tone, or should I be copying that, or is that just how he sounds, or is that something I can achieve too? And it kind of, the first thing you limit yourself to is just, all right, is he or she, is she loud there? Is she soft? Is she singing the vowels really open, like, yeah? Or is it kind of like, yeah? Like, is it kind of closed like that? You know what I mean? And you're just listening for those kinds of things. And it just keeps it a little bit more simple. And then as you have more of that home base of knowing what you're doing, and then you want to break the rules a bit for artistic purposes, that's where you can start playing around and being like, oh, I like it when she's got like this grit and airiness in her voice. You know what? I'm going to start doing that. Or I like it when it's crystal clear. I'm going to focus more on that, I'm interested how you resonate with this video, your thoughts on all these things. I'd like to know if this has kind of liberated some things for you or cleared some things up for you. Let me know down in the comments. And if you'd like to apply for mentorship, just go to my website, and looking forward to working with you.